the department. Could I have the first slide? The next slide, thank you. Okay, so we've got the 2 law courses that we offer. We've got the A-level law programme and the applied law programme. Content-wise, as you can see, there's not a huge amount of difference, or you will see in the next sort of slide or two, there's not a huge amount of difference in terms of what those courses cover. But the real difference is in the way that they're assessed. As you can see, the A-level law programme is 100% exam at the end of the 2 years. You get 3 exams, whereas the applied law is assessed more throughout. So you've got a piece of coursework or 2 pieces of coursework exams in the first year, and then again coursework and exams in the second year. So if you're more of a courseworky type person, that's more of your skill set, then you might be leaning more towards the applied law programme as a result. Okay, can we move to the next slide? Okay, so we've got some more information there about who we are as staff members. And I also have, actually, I forgot to mention, I do have a student with me tonight, Beth, who's also going to talk a little bit about her experience of both Franklin and studying on the law programme. So myself and Andy are experienced teachers. We've been teaching on the course for a number of years, and we're also examiners with the exam board. So when we say the examiner is looking for this or that, we know because it's us. We both have law degrees. I worked at John Barker Solicitors before becoming a teacher, so we've got strong local industry links. A lot of our ex-students are working within the legal profession locally, and we've kept in touch with a lot of them, which provides us with some good links for yourselves as well. And we like to pride ourselves on the focus on supporting our students to help them reach their full potential. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so it's not just about what you do in the classroom in Franklin. There's a lot more to the college than that. And this is just, again, a little snapshot of the kind of things that we do to enrich your programme and to develop your skills further while you're with us. So we do have an exciting programme of guest speakers. Even during lockdown, we've had people who have come virtually to give us talks to our current students. We also have the Career Ready programme, and again, I'll let Beth talk a little bit more about that in a moment because she's had experience with that programme. But it's to help you to prepare yourself for a career within the legal profession, whatever sort of area you wish to go into, really. So the programme has a mentoring element to it, apprenticeship elements to it, and just developing your skills as well within that. We do take place in a mock trial competition, which involves travelling to Leeds Crown Court and competing against other schools and colleges in the region, which is a really good day, really good opportunity to practice those all-important in-court skills. And we also have masterclasses, again, with experts in their field. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is one of our success stories, Emily Briggs. We often get asked, and the thing is that I was asking this question when I was a student at Franklin, which I can assure you was a considerable length of time ago. We always get asked, well, you know, if you do an A-level in law, can you do a degree in it? Or is there a barrier to doing a degree in law if you've done an A-level? Absolutely not is the answer, and Emily is a really good example of that. Studying law with ourselves, and then has gone on to Oxford University to study law. So no, those goals are certainly possible from this area and from the college. And so, you know, you can set your goals high with us, and we will do our best to help you achieve them. Next slide. Okay, so obviously there's lots of different destinations that you could go on to with law or other subjects that you study with us. You could go into university with either the applied law or the A-level law. They are widely accepted by universities. You could also go on to legal apprenticeships. Lots of exciting things happening with legal apprenticeships at the moment within the profession. And so, you know, again, there would be good skills that you're developing with us in order to take further if you wish to work within the legal profession. As I said before, we do have a lot of our ex-students working in local firms, and they do like to come back and talk to our students, which is nice. And it's nice to have those connections with the students when they leave us as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's a little bio for Beth, who I'm going to hand you over to so that she can talk about her experiences of the college and studying law. Beth, over to you.
Thank you. Hi everyone. As you can see on the slide there, I'm studying law, politics, and French at the minute. I chose law because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to study in the future. I knew I wanted to go to university, and I knew that law would open up the doors regardless of whatever I decided I wanted to do. I found studying law really rewarding. As I've developed lots of transferable skills, which I'll be able to apply at degree level, as well as in my other A-level subjects, such as essay writing and conducting research as well. In law, you cover all areas such as tort, criminal, and contract. My personal favourite would be criminal because you can deepen your knowledge through watching documentaries. However, we've started to cover contract law this term, and I am enjoying how this area pieces together and helps me understand working life. As Chris was saying, I've been part of the Career Ready program, and I found this a really good enrichment thing to do because you get to go through an interview process, which is great for preparing for work or uni, and you get a one-on-one mentor which you meet with monthly, who can help you find work experience or help you with your CV and your university applications, which is really good. You can also go on trips as well. Like I went to London and visited some law departments there for a weekend, which was really good. I would say that a good subject to take alongside law would definitely be politics, because there are crossover areas within each of the subjects, such as the study of the Supreme Court, and examples from one subject can be taken and used in the other as well, making building your knowledge for exams a lot easier. Also, both subjects use similar writing techniques, making me feel more confident when putting across arguments in exams. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, so thank you, Beth, for that. Sorry, excuse me, coughing away there. Yeah, so Beth obviously hinted there at a bit of the content as well. So as she said, we do cover on both courses quite a wide range of subject areas. So as I said, it's a really good preparation for either going on to degree or apprenticeships. We do cover quite a lot. There's more details on that in the course guide. I'm just conscious of taking up too much time for law, and I know that everyone else needs to have their turn as well. But so there is more detail and drilling in on the courses. So if you could just have the next slide and the one after that. Right, so there you've got my colleague's email address there, so that if you do have any more questions about specifics in terms of what we cover on the course, then you could always ask away, or you can ask in the chat and we'll do our best to answer it. But as I say, I'm conscious of the time and allowing other subjects to have their go. So I'll hand off for now, but I look forward to meeting you all in September. Thank you very much.
Okay, hi, my name's Roy Horrobin. I teach politics at Franklin, and tonight I'm going to be talking about politics. And also I've got Ellie, who's one of our Year 2 students, and Harry, who's one of our Year 2 politics students. And they're going to be telling you a bit about the subject and how it works. So we'll move on, please, Andy. Okay, so it's a 2-year program, as are all A-levels, 100% exams, 3 exams at the end of Year 2. We look at British politics, which anybody who does politics does. We also look at ideologies, which anybody who does politics does. But what we do differently to other nearby centres, as far as I'm aware, is that we look at global politics as well. So we're looking at things like the United Nations. We're looking at events such as Myanmar and why that's happened and how that should be dealt with. And I think that's really important preparation for the global world that many of our students are going to go off and work in. So that's a bit of a unique selling point. Next slide, please, Andy. Okay, so I'm now going to bring in Ellie. Ellie, it's a slightly socially awkward moment when I ask you about the teaching at Franklin of politics. But Ellie, could I ask you about the teaching of Franklin of politics?
Yes, so for politics, our teacher actually works in politics. So they get to see a more inside view of how the systems and institutions work, whereas us on the outside just get to interpret it ourselves. And having this sort of unique knowledge of exactly how it works inside, can really help when trying to understand things in the textbook or exam questions. It'll always be useful.
Excellent, thank you. And could you tell us about support? Do you feel supported? And if so, what sort of support have you gained from politics and your teacher,
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, so I think there's two main things I'd point out about support in Franklin. So you have support in the classroom with your teacher. So whether that's at break time or dinner time, if you have any questions, issues, queries, you can always come in. Or now you have to email. But also outside of the classroom, you'll have a mentor or a form tutor. So if you have any issues there, there's always going to be someone who can support you or lead you where you want to go.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I'm going to talk top right-hand corner, this network of sixth form colleges. We are trying to sell Franklin this evening, and this is a real selling point. So I teach politics at Franklin, but also politics is taught at the sixth form college in Scunthorpe and across the bridge in Hull. And we're not in competition with those people for students or resources or ideas. So in fact, and this is developing now even more so, we've got other teachers who I've experienced of exam work. I would be currently an AQA examiner, but with what's happened with COVID, that's not taking place. But we've got different teachers with different experiences, all of them fully qualified and spending their time teaching politics. So that, again, is a real useful pool to pull upon, which helps our students to be very successful. Strong links to people in politics. We've got good connections. A Franklin student, I can think of one who currently works in Westminster. I can think of another one who's going to be working in Westminster. We're in contact with these people. We've got strong links with local politicians. We've got strong links with lobbying organizations, strong links with different universities around the country. Again, that's a unique point that we've got. Next slide, please, Andy. Okay, so guest speakers. Ellie, could I ask you to tell us a bit about some of the people we've had in?
Yeah, of course. So recently, it was last Friday, we had the Conservative MP for Cleethorpes, Martin Vickers, in for Debate Club. And we've also had people come in the classroom from the Brexit Party and Greenpeace. And for the politics course, you need up-to-date examples to do well in your exams, and the best place to get these examples is from people in politics themselves. So having the opportunity to personally debate and ask questions with these people is so important, and it's honestly really interesting and it's enjoyable.
Thank you. Debate Club, Harry, if I could introduce Harry. Could you tell us about Debate Club and what you've gained from it, Harry, please?
Well, Debate Club's actually quite fun. I remember when I first started, I thought, oh, it's going to be kind of boring. It's Debate Club, but we'll see how it is. But it's actually really interesting because, as Ellie said, you do get the guest speakers in, you get to understand how people are and how people see things, but also you get to see that in the debates specifically, because you get to have discussions with your friends or with people who you don't even see as your friends, but you come to respect for how they see things and how they believe things. And I think it just adds to your knowledge just by seeing another's opinion on it. So I think it's very useful.
Yeah, and our Debate Club is, I'm pretty confident, the strongest in the region, and it delivers very, very good experiences which help you academically and also prepare you for university interviews and for progression after university. Trips, could you tell us about the London trip, please, Harry, as an example of a trip we went on pre-COVID?
Yes, so we went to London, we stayed at a hostel, and we went to have a look around Parliament and the Supreme Court. The picture on the right out of those three, that is us outside of the Supreme Court. And we got to go inside the courtrooms, we got to speak and ask some questions about some of the cases that have taken part there, one of them being the one with Shamima Begum, if I'm not mistaken, or was it her sister? I think it was. But we managed to get, we were able to go into Parliament. We got to go into the House of Lords and see how both rooms were. We got to go into the select committee rooms. We got to ask some questions, and yeah, it was really valuable to understand the ins and outs of Parliament, to actually see it. It's really good.
Okay, next slide, please, Andy. Okay, so I'm going to skate over this. What I'll draw attention to is the next question actually is going to handle this. Politics develops good communication skills, and it's relevant to all sorts of careers because politicians are the lawmakers and it impacts on everything. We've got current students currently at Oxford University, just like Law have, London School of Economics doing politics, also Nottingham, Manchester. We're hitting some top universities, and we haven't got time to talk about it, but the two students who are currently talking are off to do some great courses. Next slide, please, Andy. Again, I'm conscious of the time, like Christina. It's this first question. Ellie, could you answer that, please? Do I need to know anything about politics to do politics?
Okay, no. The answer to the question is no. I knew little to nothing about politics when I first started, and I was really worried about that, and I came to Roy and I came to my form tutor sort of panicking about this. There is nothing to worry about with not knowing anything about politics at the start. Of course, there's going to be some people who already have sort of an impressive amount of knowledge on politics, but the most people in your class will be in the same boat, and honestly, there's nothing to worry about when it comes to that. You learn it all properly, and whatever questions you have, again, you can ask your teacher. So yeah, you don't need to have any knowledge at all.
Okay, I'm going to move on. There's lots and lots of jobs. Sadly, I haven't got time to talk about that. Obviously politician, obviously teaching, but also there's this whole area of jobs to do with lobbying, think tanks, research. There's plenty of work. And also it can work in surprising directions. So our student who's at Oxford is studying chemistry, but he's interested in perhaps, I remember him saying this, going on to do scientific writing, and his politics has really helped with his literacy and his writing skills. Next slide, please, Andy. Okay, so again, that's my email address. Brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much. That's it from me. Thank you.
Hiya, so my name is Kay Ward. I'm one of the history teachers at Franklin College. I teach alongside Roy, who's just been speaking. So I'm going to give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour through ancient history and history together. Can I have the next slide, please? It's like doing a briefing, isn't it, really? Right, so in terms of the two courses, they're very similar in terms of how they're laid out. So again, because they're an A-level, they are both a two-year programme. The difference currently between the two is that A-level history is roughly 80% exams, and there is an element of coursework, and there are 3 exams that you sit at the end of year 2. For ancient history, there is no coursework, so it is just 100% exams, and there are 2 exams at the end of year 2. So in terms of course content, so I'll keep it very brief because I can talk wax lyrical on this sort of stuff. But for A-level history, we do an element of British history, and we also do an element of international history, and we will be covering roughly 200 years of that time. For ancient history, we don't have the same time requirements as the A-level does in history, sorry. What we do is Greek and Roman history. So the Greek stuff, we start with the Peloponnesian War and look at the Athenian democracy. And for the Roman side of things, we start with the fall of the Republic, which is basically just a mass murdering horrible people, and then look at the first 5 emperors that took over Rome at this particular point. Next slide, please. I'm very conscious of the time. I've got a timer that I'm watching. So in terms of some snapshots, you've spot sort of kind of themes coming across all of our slides here. Very experienced teaching staff. For example, I have been at Franklin now 11 years, going on 12 years, and I've been teaching ancient history and history for all of that time while I've been at Franklin. I'm also personally an examiner for A-level ancient history. I'm one of the few people who examine on the Athenian democracy paper. So I've been examining for OCR, which is the exam board, off and on for years. So I know the papers really inside out when it comes to ancient history. I'm also what's called a candidate proxy. So this means sometimes I test exam papers on behalf of the exam board to make sure they are usable in real exams. So when I say I know this stuff inside out, I really do know this stuff inside out because I have to plan the answers as well. There's lots of support available, so lots of one-to-one support, but also revision sessions. So even during these sort of trickier times, I've been doing remote revision sessions with students, helping with essay planning, etc., and content. There's also some fantastic enrichment opportunities at Franklin in these courses, which is on the next slide, I hope. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the enrichment, the biggest one for history and ancient history is the foreign trip. So obviously pre-COVID times, we would run this trip once a year. So you can see that we have been to, you can see Rome, you can see the Colosseum. We have us on the steps of the Parthenon, which is on the right-hand side. That's another temple in front of the Basilica in Rome, and also one of our idols, Julius Caesar, on the far left-hand side. We have also run a trip to Sicily in the past as well. Now, although this trip is primarily aimed at ancient history students, because of obviously where the places we're going, we do open it to all students doing history and A-level ancient history, simply because it's all history. And obviously, it will look good for UCAS applications if you have a kind of wider, broader understanding of history, not just necessarily looking at the modern history side of things. Next slide, please. So in terms of destination, in terms of career-wise, people go on to study things like history, obviously. Archaeology, I've got, I think, 3 students applied for archaeology this year. It's my new record. Often we have students who go off to do law as well. And I actually have quite a surprising number of scientists who do ancient history or history. And that's because they want to take up either one of those courses, but seems to be mainly ancient history, to be honest, as their essay writing skill and for sort of pure enjoyment. And it often ends up being one of their favourite A-levels just because of the content that we are covering. At this point, I'm going to bring Harry in because although he's already spoken, he actually does politics, ancient history and history. So he's like the prime example for these courses. So Harry, can I ask you, why did you decide to choose those 3 particular A-levels?
Well, I've always enjoyed history, and especially with ancient history, I was really interested in the subject to see what it was like. And I definitely think it's paid off because I don't think I would have been happy with any other 3 subjects, to be honest. Ancient history it's difficult, but it's really enjoyable when you're in the lessons because we've just recently finished our courses. And the final topic was on Roman emperors, and that is by far the most fun I've had doing history in a very long time. And I really think they're really good subjects to do, to be honest.
So what do you enjoy about your 3 courses in particular?
I think it's just learning about what's come before. It's quite a dull answer, I guess, but it's just really interesting.
That's fair enough. And from memory, from your UCAS application, you're applying to quite an interesting set of courses after your A-levels, aren't you? So yes. What are you applying for?
I'm applying for Japanese studies with international relations, which is a bit of a mouthful. But yeah, I definitely think the courses I've chosen in Franklin have definitely helped me and will help me further in my university course, especially with politics and international politics. But I think the essay writing that I've learned in ancient history specifically will push me to do a lot better in my uni degree.
Thank you, Harry. It's always nice to hear that I've been teaching you good skills. One final question, because I am conscious of the time. So what do you think is the best thing about Franklin?
The support, really, I think, because when I was choosing to come to college, I was always being told at secondary, oh, you don't get help at college, you're on your own. But I really think that, considering I've had experience at sixth form in secondary, you get more help here at college than you do in a sixth form in secondary. And I think just that support's vital.
Great, thank you very much, Harry. Can I have the next slide, please? So it does also show that obviously with university applications that ancient history and history can get you onto any course that you want to go on to. So these are 3 common questions I get asked. So do universities look at history and ancient history as the same thing? They don't see them as the same A-level. So they don't think that if you do history and ancient history, and some students do both, that they think, oh, you've only just done one A-level in their heads. They do see them as separate A-levels, because although they have similar skills, the weighting of the skills is quite radically different. Like I said, I teach on both of them. Another common question, I get asked is whether or not ancient history gets you onto a modern history course. Yes, It's a short answer, because ancient history is just history. So they don't mind that you haven't done modern history at all. And what other subjects work with either history or ancient history? So also politics, as Harry's a good example, but a lot of students will do sciences, they will do English. Essentially, history and ancient history are facilitating subjects. They will get you onto anything, so you can combine them with anything you're interested in. So I have quite a few this year, students who are doing things like criminology or textiles, a couple of people doing double art, because it offers you those kind of skills, the essay writing skills, that obviously universities are particularly interested in. And that is me finished. Thank you very much.
Okay, so welcome to Geography. My name is Simon Goff. I teach Geography at Franklin, and I'd like to just take you through some slides just to explain a little bit about the course, and hopefully if you've got any questions you can post them in the chat and I'll be able to answer those as well. So if we could have the next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of course content, the course is split into two specific years, obviously with all A-levels being linear now. In year one, there are 4 topics that are studied. The first is tectonic processes and hazards, and it's always very popular with students. We've got volcanoes, we've got earthquakes, we've got tsunamis as the main types of hazards that we study. We have to understand why and where and how these hazards operate, and also, arguably more importantly, how these are managed as well. So we look at case studies and we look at theories to do with how these hazards can be not only modelled but also managed in different ways. Okay, and then we've got globalization. So there's a way of looking at the world in terms of how the world is effectively getting smaller. Figuratively, not literally, but that's what we study in globalization. And then we're back to physical geography with coastal landscapes and change, looking at processes and landforms, and also again how we manage that landscape. And then another human topic, which is regenerating places, so looking at why places need to be regenerated and how exactly that actually operates, and then trying to evaluate success. In the second year, we look at the water cycle and water insecurity, the carbon cycle and energy security. Both of those topics are extremely relevant to current political and environmental thinking. After that, we've got to look at superpowers, which links really nicely back to globalization, which looks at how and why superpowers in the world exist, how they exert their power, and how the status quo is changing with the rise of emerging nations like China and Brazil and India and Indonesia and so on. Okay, the fourth topic we look at is health, human rights, and intervention, and that links back with superpowers as well. So each topic is split into specific inquiry questions, and each of those looks at specific elements of the course. It's a real varied A-level. Like I mentioned before, there's physical geography, there's human geography. It is a 50-50 split, and it gives students a wide understanding of how the world operates. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've got experienced teaching staff. I myself have taught A-level geography for over 15 years. I am the only geography teacher at Franklin, but I've worked at other colleges in the past, and I really enjoy kind of conveying knowledge about geography and seeing students kind of grow in their understanding. There's a strong focus on support, as has been mentioned, through the kind of tutorial system, and also additional help that can be made available to students. As part of geography, we've got to carry out fieldwork. Now, obviously, this has changed somewhat in the light of COVID, but all students are supposed to carry out fieldwork as part of their A-level, and as things would normally occur, we would normally do at least 4 days of fieldwork over the A-level to give students experience of carrying out fieldwork, collecting data, analysing data, so that they are prepared to do the element of the course which I haven't yet mentioned. Okay, there's something called an NEA, non-examined assessment. Essentially, it's coursework, and it accounts for 20% of a student's A level, and that's where students get the opportunity to investigate whatever they like. Okay, if you're interested in regeneration, then you can try and assess whether a particular regeneration project has been successful or whether a particular place needs regeneration. If you're interested in ecology, you can investigate how vegetation changes on sand dunes. There's literally anything you can investigate as long as it's related to the specification. So therefore, students have to go out into the field, they have to collect data and have to be prepared to do that themselves as well. But there's lots of support given for students who are doing this coursework. And of course, we've got a massive range of resources to help students, ranging from textbooks to subscriptions that we have in the library. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's think about why to choose geography. Well, it's one of these subjects where it's quite unique, where the arts meet the sciences. There's the human side of geography, which marries very nicely with things like sociology, elements of psychology, I guess. And then there's the physical side of geography, which marries very well with, the biology and physics. So it is quite unique in its appeal, I guess. It's highly valued by universities as an A-level choice. It's what the universities tend to call a facilitating subject, because the skills that are developed during the study of A-level geography are really transferable. There's a lot of understanding the world through data. There's gathering data, there's analysing data, there's interpreting data, and just trying to I guess gain a range of skills which are relevant not only for further study but also in the world of work. It looks at the interaction of human activity in the environment, and we all live on Earth, and therefore we should be aware of that. And it's interesting that we address the implications of our actions as well. So it's a really wide-ranging subject to study. Next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of enrichment, it's very similar to the subjects that we mentioned before. We've got fieldwork opportunities, like I said. We've got additional revision opportunities for students in preparation for exams. And also we've got guest speakers that come in, providing input on local issues, particularly regeneration in the local area for human geography. And we've also got experts that can come in and help us with physical geography, such as people who work locally on ecosystem work. Next slide, please, Claire. Right, so where do you go with a geography A-level? Well, it's a level 3 qualification, so in itself it can be used for applying for jobs straight off, but most of the time it's used as a stepping stone to a degree. It's a facilitating subject, so it's highly valued by universities, and it can help you get onto virtually any course that you would think of, really. If you wanted to go straight into a career, then of course geography provides you with a range of skills that are going to be useful in things like local government, planning. Students have gone on to work in a state agency, management, surveying, transport planning, sustainability, consultancy work. Obviously there's teaching, but the skills that you develop in A-level geography prepare you for any job, really. Last slide, please, Claire. Okay. If you've got any further questions, you can contact me on that email address there. If not, just pop a question into the chat and I'll be sure to try and answer it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Like everyone said, from the different courses within the humanities department, there's lots on offer, and there's loads of trips and visits and loads of enrichment and some fantastic progression opportunities after life at Franklin. So please do pop questions in the chat, whether it's about popping an application into Franklin, whether it's about starting at Franklin, taster days in the summer, getting involved with work before we start in September. Whatever your question, please do pop it in the chat and we'll be happy to answer that for you. So I just wanted to share some information with you from a general point of view about the college. So for everyone applying to Franklin looking to start this September, this is information. So if you've got friends or members of your family who are also applying to the college, please feel free, I'll get my words out, please feel free to share this information. So obviously we know that exams won't be taking place this summer, and again it'll be down to assessed grades, whether that's the grades that you've still got to achieve in some assessments, or whether that's your teachers at school predicting your grades between now and the summer. We just want you to know that we totally understand the situation that you are in, and we empathise with that. And at Franklin, we're a nice group of people. Obviously, we want you to go on to the best opportunities in the future possible, and we really want to make sure that you're on the right course and that those courses are going to get you to the next steps after college. So we're here to work with you and advise you and really support you in getting those best grades and encouraging you to stay engaged whilst you're still at school at the moment, whether that means that you're remote or whether you're one of the lucky ones to be in school. So please do continue being involved with work and don't take your foot off the gas. But also when it comes to the summer, we know that this is a bit of a different situation to the past years, although last year was a bit of a funny one as well, and that we are here for you and we will continue to work with you and support you from that transition from school to college. And just remember that we've also got students that are in the same position, so we understand what you're going through, and we're here for you. So any questions you've got or any support that you need in the summer, we will be there for you, and we're monitoring the process as it goes along. Okay, next slide please, Claire. Can't get my words out. So just some advice for you to follow us on social media. We update social media daily, so we've got all the stuff that's going on with Franklin College on there, and we've also got different events that the college is running, and there'll be information on there for year 11s progressing to Franklin in September to keep in touch with the college and see what we've got going on. So some really key information on there that we wouldn't want you to miss. So give us a follow and keep in touch with us via social media. Next slide, please. So if you haven't put an application in yet, you can do this via Links To if you're within the catchment area for the Links To setup, or if your school doesn't fall into a Links To area, you can do this directly on our website. It's a really easy process. You just add your courses to a little shopping basket, or if it's on Links To, you search for the course and make sure it's Franklin Sixth Form College. Add those to your basket, and then to check out, you need to fill in some information about yourself and press send, and that will come to us. And the process, if you haven't already started that process, is we will be in touch with you. A member of our interview team will be in touch with you to organise an interview slot and then to book an interview in. The interview process is nothing to be worried about. It is simply a chat between yourself and us to make sure that you're on the right course and it's going to get you to where you want to go in the future. Again, if you've got any questions, do get in touch with us about that. Next slide, please, Claire. Okay, so college tours. Obviously, we can't invite you into the college at the minute, but we look forward to when we can. On our website, you can book a tour, which is under the virtual tour section of the website, and it's just a case of popping your details in or calling us on the number which is on the screen now, and just requesting a tour. And when we can invite you into the college, we'll get in touch with you. Obviously, we want you in the college. We want to show you around. We want to show you our facilities, to meet the staff and students. So as soon as we can, we will. Next slide, please. I'm not sure what's next. All right. Okay. So the Franklin Live events that we've got left this year, you'll see on the screen. So the one next, which is on Thursday, is our art, design and fashion department. And then following on from there, after half term, the next one is on the 1st of March, and so on after that. So feel free to attend any of those if they're of interest to you. You can book those just like you did with this one directly on our website. Next slide, please, Claire. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the information about the college. So if anyone's got any questions they'd like to ask, whether it's about the college, applying, or any of the courses that were covered tonight, please feel free to pop that in the chat and we'll go through and answer those questions for you. Thanks, everyone. If people don't ask questions, that just leaves me to say thanks for attending tonight, and we hope to see you very soon. Thank you. I can see there's a couple of people still in the event. If you do have any questions and you want to just pop your mic on, please feel free to do that.